I paid their mortgage for 7 years, then they sold the house without telling me. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a metaphor. That's exactly how I learned the truth. For 7 straight years, I sent them money, month after month, thinking I was helping them keep their home, my childhood home, the one with my name carved into the backyard tree, the one with photos of every birthday taped to the fridge, the one they swore would always be there. I made sacrifices, I skipped vacations, delayed moving out of my apartment, said no to things I wanted, all because I believed I was helping them stay afloat, and they let me believe that. They smiled. They thanked me. They told me how much it meant. But what they never told me was that they had been planning to sell the house all along, that they were fixing it up, not for themselves, but to increase its value, that the kitchen remodels and fancy patio furniture weren't about comfort, they were an investment. Their retirement plan was me. So when I pulled into the driveway one Friday morning, check in hand, and saw a moving truck and a young couple unlocking the front door, I thought I was being pranked. But it was real. The house was gone. My parents were smiling like they'd just won the lottery. And I finally understood what it felt like to be used. My name's Mark. I'm 32 now. And for most of my adult life, I truly believed I was one of the lucky ones. I had 2 parents who, at least on the surface, seemed loving and supportive. We weren't wealthy, but we weren't poor either. My dad worked in construction for nearly 3 decades. He was tough, old school, always smelled like sweat and sawdust. My mom stayed at home. She was the nurturing type, baked cookies, volunteered at school, remembered every teacher's name I ever had. We lived in a modest but warm 2-story house on Oak Ridge Drive. It wasn't flashy, but it was full of life. I grew up thinking family came first, that no matter what happened in the world, we'd always have each other. That house wasn't just a building. It was the backdrop of every holiday, every scraped knee, every report card, every milestone. It was home in the truest sense of the word. After high school, I left for college out of state. I studied computer science and got a job in tech. It wasn't glamorous at first, but I worked hard, climbed fast. By the time I was 25, I had a good salary, my own small apartment, and big plans. I wanted to save up for a home, travel, maybe start my own business someday. But just as things were falling into place for me, everything was falling apart back home. My dad had a heart attack. It wasn't fatal, but it took him out of work for months. Their savings drained fast. Mom tried to pick up part-time work, but it barely made a dent. The mortgage was overdue, the bills were stacking up, and the house was on the edge of foreclosure. I remember the call clearly. Mom didn't ask for money, she never did, but I could hear the panic in her voice, the shame. That was all I needed. I offered, no, insisted on helping. I told them I'd take care of the mortgage until Dad recovered and they could stabilize again. It wasn't even a question in my mind. This was home, and I had the means. I couldn't let them lose it. At first, I paid the mortgage directly to the bank. I set up a monthly transfer. I felt good about it, like I was giving back, like I was stepping up. When Dad started working part-time again, they asked if I could just send the money to their account instead. Said it was easier that way. I agreed. There was no reason not to trust them. They promised it was temporary. I believed them. After all, they were my parents. Month after month, year after year, I sent those payments. And in return, I got gratitude. We couldn't do this without you. You're such a blessing. This is still your home too, Mark. I never asked for anything back. I never expected repayment. I wasn't keeping score, but maybe I should have. Because while I was sacrificing to keep the roof over their heads, I had no idea they were slowly making plans to tear it all down, without me. Things didn't shift all at once. It wasn't some dramatic betrayal in a single moment. At least, not yet. It was more like a slow erosion. Tiny cracks in the foundation of trust I thought we had. It started with the renovations. At first, they mentioned small upgrades in passing. We're thinking of replacing the sink. It's leaking again. Might repaint the kitchen. It's starting to look old. That all sounded reasonable. The house was aging. They deserved to feel comfortable in their own space. But then I visited one summer, and the kitchen was unrecognizable. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, a fancy wine fridge, not just functional, luxurious. I blinked, confused. "Whoa, this looks amazing," I said. "How'd you afford all this?" Mom just laughed. "We saved here and there, tightened our belts." I didn't press it. I didn't want to seem ungrateful or accusatory, but something felt off. Then came the bathroom remodel. Then the backyard patio with a brand new grill. Then a second car. They were living better than I was, and I was the one sending them thousands every year. What really broke me, though, was Christmas. I offered to stay the week at their house, my house, the one I was helping to pay for. Mom hesitated. "It's not a good time," she said. "We're still reorganizing the guest room." That sounded odd. I told her I didn't mind the mess. I was family. I showed up anyway. When I got there, I nearly didn't recognize the room I used to call mine. My posters were gone. My bookshelves replaced with storage bins. A treadmill sat where my bed used to be. My childhood photos? Not on the wall, not even tucked into a dusty drawer. It was like I'd been erased. I slept on the couch. They didn't act like they wanted me there. Conversations were short. Dad was distracted. Mom kept checking her phone. No family dinners. No traditions. Just awkward silence and cheap politeness. That was the first time I felt like an outsider in my own family. A few weeks later, I called to check in and hesitantly asked, "Hey, do you still need me to cover the mortgage? Things seem better financially?" There was a pause. Then Dad's voice, cold. "Why would you ask something like that? After everything we've done for you?" That hit me like a slap. After everything they'd done for me, I hadn't asked for anything. I was the one paying. I was the one sacrificing. And yet, when I questioned the situation, just once, I was made to feel ungrateful. That conversation didn't escalate into a fight. I backed off. But inside, something cracked. It was the first time I seriously wondered, were they taking advantage of me? It was the first time I didn't feel proud of helping. It was the first time I felt used. After that awkward phone call, things weren't the same. They didn't stop accepting the money, of course. The payments continued, and so did their silence. But I noticed the tone in their texts started to change, shorter, less warmth. No thank you, no check-ins, no family updates, just reminders, as if I were some automatic payment system. What hurt the most wasn't the money. It was how transactional it all became. One month, I accidentally sent the payment a few days late because of a glitch with my bank. My mom called, not to ask if I was okay, but to say, "Mark, we really need you to be more responsible about this. We're counting on that money." That was the first time I felt like an employee instead of a son. Still, I swallowed my pride. I didn't want to believe the worst of them. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they didn't realize how it was coming across. But then came the birthday dinner. It was Dad's 60th, and they threw a big party at a nice restaurant. I drove in from out of town, 3 hours each way. I showed up with a gift, paid for everyone's drinks, and even helped with setup. But when the check came, they handed it to me. No discussion, no hesitation. "You've got it, right?" Mom smiled. "You make the most out of everyone here." Everyone laughed except me. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't cute. It was expected, normalized. I paid it, but something inside me burned. After the party, I brought it up privately with Dad. I said, "I don't mind helping, but it feels like I'm the only one giving. I don't even feel welcome in the house anymore." He didn't take it well. His voice hardened. "We raised you, fed you, gave you everything, and now you want to complain about helping out for a few years?" "A few years?" I said. "It's been 7. You think we owe you something, is that it? I was stunned. No, I thought we were in this together. He scoffed. Don't act like a victim. You volunteered. Nobody begged you. That line hit harder than I expected. Because it was true. I had volunteered. I had done it willingly. But did that mean I deserved to be taken for granted? After that conversation, I didn't visit for a while. We texted less. I started wondering how much more I could give before something finally gave out inside me. Then, about 2 months later, a friend of mine, Jenna, who works in real estate, called me out of the blue. Hey, she said, I think I just saw your parents' house on a listing board. Oak Ridge Drive, right? My blood ran cold. That can't be right, I said. They would have told me. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it anymore. Jenna sent me the link. There it was, listed, pending sale. Photos of every room, including my room, now a gym. My name wasn't in any of it, not even mentioned. I stared at the screen, numb. No warning, no heads up, not a single word. They were selling the house, and I was the last to know. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the listing until the photos blurred. I read and reread the description. Charming family home, fully renovated, modern finishes. They hadn't just listed it, they'd staged it, showcased it, celebrated it. And they did it all while cashing my checks, while smiling through our brief phone calls, pretending like everything was normal. I didn't call them. I didn't demand an explanation. I didn't need one anymore. Instead, that weekend, I drove straight to the house, not to fight, but to see it with my own eyes. I pulled up just in time to see a moving truck in the driveway, boxes being loaded. A young couple stood with a realtor laughing, holding hands. My parents were there too, Mom in sunglasses and a sun hat, Dad shaking hands like it was a retirement party. Their faces dropped when they saw me. Mark, Mom said, her voice tight, eyes darting to the realtor. We didn't think you'd be stopping by. I stepped out of the car, calm but direct. You sold the house? Dad cleared his throat. We were going to tell you. When? After the ink dried? It's complicated, he muttered. We needed the equity. Retirement's expensive and... You've been taking money from me every month like nothing was changing, I snapped. You didn't think I deserved to know? Not even a conversation? It's not what you think, Mom said quickly. We were going to offer to repay you. Eventually. With what? The money you're spending on a cruise next week? She went silent. That was all I needed to see. I got in my car, drove back to Austin, and spent the entire weekend gathering receipts, bank transfers, email chains, screenshots of texts where they thanked me for helping keep the house going. I printed everything, labeled it all, and Monday morning I took it to a lawyer. To be honest, I didn't even think I had a case, but I needed to try. Not because of the money, but because I deserved to stand up for myself. Turns out, while family arrangements are hard to fight in court, the sheer volume of documentation I had, combined with the fact that I was never listed on the deed, meant I had grounds for an unjust enrichment claim. Basically, they profited massively off my prolonged financial contributions without transparency or acknowledgement. My lawyer sent the first notice within a week. They called me that same day. Mark, what is this? Mom asked, her voice already trembling. You're suing us? No, I said. I'm reclaiming what's mine. You're overreacting. No, I underreacted for 7 years. This is me catching up. There was silence on the line. Then she whispered, We didn't think you'd do this. I almost laughed. I know. They didn't fight. They didn't threaten. They didn't apologize either. But a few weeks later, their lawyer reached out. They agreed to settle $92,000. It wasn't the full amount I'd paid over 7 years, but it was something. Enough to close the chapter. I accepted. That day I blocked their numbers, and for the first time in years I breathed. After the settlement, the silence was deafening. No more texts, no emails, no holiday cards. It was like we had never existed to each other. The quiet didn't surprise me. It was exactly what I expected. But what did surprise me was how peaceful it felt. For the first few weeks, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. A call, a letter, a cousin trying to mediate. But nothing came. Until my birthday. An envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name in my mother's handwriting. Inside was a birthday card, the kind you'd find on the bottom shelf at a pharmacy. Nothing personal, just a printed message and a gift card to a chain restaurant I hadn't been to in years. There was no apology, not a single mention of what had happened, just a line. "We hope you're doing well. Happy birthday." It made me angrier than if they'd said nothing at all. A few weeks later, my dad left a voicemail. I almost didn't listen to it, but curiosity got the better of me. He didn't apologize either. He talked about how hard aging was, how things get complicated, how family should stick together. It wasn't an admission of guilt, it was a guilt trip. I deleted the message. They never reached out again. But every once in a while, I'd hear from someone in the extended family. An uncle forwarding me a vague, just checking in email. A cousin tagging me in an old photo on Facebook. Little breadcrumbs they were hoping I'd follow back home. I didn't. Because home wasn't there anymore. They sold it, along with every piece of trust I had left. And the truth is, they didn't just break the bond, they made sure it couldn't be repaired. I don't think they ever truly understood what they did. To them, I was just being dramatic, sensitive. Too emotional for turning my back on family. But what they never grasped was that I wasn't punishing them, I was protecting myself. For years, I gave them everything I had to give. My time, my energy, my stability, my peace. Not because they demanded it, but because I loved them. Because I believed that's what good sons did. But love without respect? That's not family. That's manipulation dressed in nostalgia. And what hurt more than losing the money or the house was realizing I was never really included in their picture of the future. I was just a tool, a resource, something useful until I wasn't. Since cutting contact, life has been quieter, lighter, lonelier at times, yes, but also more honest. I bought my own condo. Small, but it's mine. Every photo on the wall means something. Every decision in the space is mine alone. No guilt, no strings. No unspoken debts hanging over my head like shadows. I still think about them sometimes. Wonder if they ever look at the checkbook or the bank account and remember where that stability came from. Wonder if they ever sit in silence and realize who they sold out. But I don't wait for apologies anymore. I don't need closure from them. I already gave it to myself. What do you think? Would you have taken legal action or just walked away and never looked back? Have you ever reached a point where protecting your peace meant walking away from the people who raised you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.